So, Jess, before we do your stand-up bit, can we play I'm a Feminist But?
Yeah, I need a little disclaimer. So these have been written in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah,
and
you didn't
I'm
have
at
any
a point
notice.
of...
Did you write them on the line bike?
Yeah. I'm at a point of middle age and perimenopause where, and I do this show regularly and I love it, but I am at a point in my life where I generally tend to write my I'm a Feminist But, and then I look at those unfiltered and think, I'd sleep on that. Before saying that out loud. And I haven't obviously had a chance to do that. So these are a one-way ticket to Counciltown.
One-way ticket to Counciltown.
You are about to experience some horrid honesty. I don't know if it's funny. It's definitely going to make a small percentage of you livid.
I'm a feminist, Jess, but those are my favourites.
Great.
The ones I know I'm going to get emails about always secretly make me laugh the most. My favourite, the one we got the most emails about ever was Sarah Pascoe saying, I'm a feminist, but I would sell the Spice Girls to Boko Haram to get on Strictly Come Dancing. She was joking. It was a hyperbole.
Okay.
I don't know which one she'd sell, but I felt like she was going to hand them all over.
She'd hand a whole lot over.
You go.
Oh. I'm a feminist, but people using their phones to scroll or watch things on trains without headphones in is making me want to vote for reform. Because effectively it's a one-way ticket to a climate apocalypse, and I think in some ways we deserve it. Okay, yeah, that's the tone, and it's going to get worse. I can't bear it. I can't bear it, and when people do it, I want violence on them. Yeah. I don't understand, and some days I've got the bandwidth to say, have you got any headphones? Would you mind borrowing some headphones? And some days I don't. Some days I sit there going, and that's today was that day.
I'm a feminist, but secretly I think that white people are the scourge of humanity, and humanity is the scourge of the earth.
Yeah.
And the earth would be better off if we just went the way we were going.
Yeah.
Then all the other species must be like, oh, fucking hell, when are they going to be out of here? They're destroying all of us, but they're destroying themselves for this kind of artificial concept of money that isn't even a thing. Like, you know, if I told my cats, if you sit on my lap, I'll pay you in invisible fingers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and now you've got 4 invisible fingers, you can buy some dreamies with that. They'd just be like, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
And no, I'm not sitting on your lap unless I want to. It's all about me. They wouldn't, all the other species...
I want you to start a currency called Dreamy Coin.
Well, that's the only currency they get, they understand. Yeah. But I genuinely just think if all the other species knew what this was about, that it was about making shareholders money or, you know, bringing added value to shareholders, they would just be like, are you fucking kidding? You're destroying us all for this.
Yeah.
This is too bleak a start. You do one.
I do take solace in the fact that there's like some kind of overlord kind of in another universe that there's some sort of parent universe that's sort of looking at Earth and going, oh, fucking hell.
That's darling, that's what God is.
Yeah. Oh. I'm a feminist, but I cried at the John Lewis advert over 4 times in a row now, even though it's one of the worst things I've ever seen, and I've seen Facebook. Yeah. The problem with it is, I think, it's that there's no logic in it. It's not really. It's just that I have a problem with the story, and effectively at the end, if I'm sort of.
Is this the one with the dad and the teenage son?
Yeah, it's the one where you find yourself crying because he's not dead. And you're like, whoa, I've got myself ready for a cry about him being dead, and he's not dead. I cried to the point where I sort of needed a bib, like toddlers need for dribble, but that perimenopausal women need for tears.
Who thought he was dead?
Like, just a neckerchief, just to soak up the tears over things that intellectually I know aren't real.
Who thought he was dead?
Oh,
He's
they
not
set
meant
it
to be
all
dead.
up. They set it all up down like a dark prison with all the music, and it's like it's in a dreamscape back in his nightclub. You're like, well, he's dead. Sun's imagining him.
Who else thought he was dead? Did anyone else think he was dead? Not one person here thought he was dead. just thinking about when he was young, like his son, but his son knows the music he liked from that era. He was never dead, Jess.
Oh, right.
I'm a feminist, but he was never dead. I'm a feminist, but today I felt really good telling a gay man with a Vivienne Westwood coat that Vivienne Westwood was dead. Not because I wanted to be dead, of course I don't. I love Vivienne Westwood, and she did so much for the environment, all of that. Not that, I mean, in a way. But not because I was happy about it, but I just felt I had superior knowledge over this incredibly well-dressed gay man on fashion. And I just felt, it felt like I was in an episode of Sex and the City. It was amazing. And that I was Carrie. And that he was, none of them were as good looking as him, but it was just a lovely moment for me. I was like, yes, she's dead. I feel like I should have broken it to him more. I didn't just say it like that. It was something of past tense, and he was like, is she dead? And I was like, yes, she's dead. Like, I've never enjoyed breaking someone was dead more than I enjoyed that moment in my life.
I can think of a few instances where you'd...
I mean, God rest her soul. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, God. Oh, no. Okay. I'm a feminist, but if I meet one more woman who was never fat, who's emaciated now, who tells me that the jabs are actually really feminist and that they're the best fat activists they've ever been, I'm going to scream myself to death in their face. I'm doing it. And I'll be honest, it doesn't feel like the best feminism. Everybody can do whatever everybody wants to do with their body, but I feel like we've feministed ourselves into a sort of weird little corner where we can't call out the kind of fact that now, if you want, you can buy the anorexia. You're always fetishized. And there's a lot of people using this medicine who never needed any medicine, and I'm in a position now where my empathy cup runneth dry, and the next time a very, very thin woman who was never fat comes up to me and tells me, oh my God, actually, the jobs are really feminist, I'm just going to stand there and go, until I have died.
Please address your emails to Jessica Fostekew at won'tgetthejab.com. Do not email me. Do not email me. She was a last-minute booking. I'm a feminist, but today, when I called Jessica Fostekew and she was too busy bodybuilding to come and she had some kind of competition thing going on, I did, I'm afraid, text her, feminism needs you more than bodybuilding. And it's not the first time I've done it. I have texted other women, feminism needs you, and ruined their day too. It's something I have pulled a number of times. I find that no woman can resist the call of feminism needs you. Try it out. It will work. If you need a woman who frankly wants to be somewhere else, anywhere but with you, say feminism needs you, and she will never be able to sleep again until she does it, and she'll know that, and you'll get what you want. I'm sorry, Jess.
I'm whipped by feminism.
Exactly. Live from Soho Theatre in London, the Spontaneity Shop presents The Guilty Feminist with me, Deborah Frances-White, guest host Jessica Fostekew, and our very special guest, Russell T Davies. Hello, Soho Theatre. It is delightful to see so many of you. Look at the people doing feminism at lunchtime. Other people call themselves feminists, but where are they? They're probably round the corner in Pret having an extra cake, but not you. They might still be in bed. They might be at yin yoga, but not you. You're here doing feminism with your clothes on, sitting upright. Look at you. You've got a bra on and everything for this. I always know if I've got a bra on, I'm ready to smash the patriarchy. I just feel I need the extra support. If I'm having a no bra day, that's for me. But here we are. Thank you so much for coming out. Just give us a cheer if you listen to The Guilty Feminist. Give us a cheer if you're here specifically because we're doing this Road to Gilead series. Okay, give us a cheer if you're really here to see our national treasure and TV icon, Russell T Davies. Okay, you're the ones we're here to recruit. Lock the doors. We will talk about TV, I promise, but we are talking about how to stop the rise of the far right, particularly Christian, not very Christian, nationalism. And a lot of you will have seen Russell do a brilliant, brilliant speech at the Welsh BAFTAs, where he talked about what's happening and said TV gets timid at times like this. So did you see that speech? Give us a cheer if you saw the speech. Yeah, okay. So if you're just here to see Russell and you're just thinking, oh, we're just going to talk about Doctor Who the whole time, not to disappoint you, but also to win you over, how can I put it to you? If you're not very political at the moment, if Nigel Farage gets in, he will close down the BBC, he hates it, and then there'll be no more Doctor Who. Okay? The left needs to get more persuasive. So if you are apolitical currently, think about that. Think about all your favourites. No one's going to be commissioning It's a Sin. No one's going to be commissioning Queer as Folk. That's not going to be happening. So if you were apolitical, but now you've heard that, and you think, oh, I'm happy to join this fight, give us a cheer. Excellent, good, super. Well, we've won them over. I don't think we need to do much more, Russ. We could just go for a drink, maybe. Yeah, absolutely, they're won. They're won over. We really wanted to do this show in Soho because not long ago, about a month ago, there was a group of Christian nationalists that came through here. They called themselves the King's Army, who famously couldn't even put Humpty Dumpty back together. So I'm not quite sure, not even with the King's horses. So I'm not quite sure about the branding yet for them. I think a bit like our party, your party, they might need to think the rebranding. It's nice to see things going so well on the left, though, as well, isn't it? Have you not been following the your party, our party, their party, fuck party, no party? This doesn't feel much like a party. So they came through here with homophobic slogans, all dressed the same. They're Christian nationalists. And by the way, I need to make this very clear. If you are a Christian or you're a person of faith or you're part of a faith community, you are so welcome here. Always been welcome in the Guilty Feminist space. It's not about Christianity. It's about the weaponization of dogma for power. It's about the misuse and abuse of Christian dogma. And we cannot have it in our churches, but it is seeping in, and it is seeping in fast. So we've got to stand up and fight it. And I think that's incredibly important. Now, today, Russell and I are going to talk, and now, it was going to be Grace Petrie. Just give us a cheer if you came for Grace Petrie. You're going to be so disappointed she's stuck on a train. I know, she's stuck on a train, but she can't get off. They won't let her off the train. There's been an accident or something, so she's literally, if you really love her, go to Market Harbour. Is that a place? Because that's where she is stuck on a train. She's got her guitar, so she could play through the window. She was going to play Black Tie, and then she was going to play an amazing new song from her new show. But she's coming to do her stand-up show here at Leicester Square very soon, so you'll be able to come and see her. So I'm so sorry she can't come. But so what I had to do was I thought, oh no, it's not really going to be the Guilty Feminist if I don't have a co-host. And so I rang Jessica Fostekew, who was in the middle of doing PE, as she does. And I basically said, Jess, we need a feminist superhero. And she not only dropped the very heavy weight she was carrying, possibly on someone's foot, she got here, and this is feminist superhero stuff, on a Lime bike. She was in a cab, in a nice cab. She got out because it wasn't moving and got on a Lime bike like a fucking superhero, like a feminist superhero, and she will be basically in a leotard because that's what she was wearing at the time to get here for you. So you will see some brilliant stand-up from Jess Fostekew. And when she walked in, I said, oh, you're my saving grace. And she said, literally. And I realised then I'd made an incredibly clever pun without even realising it. The talent on display. Anyway, what was I saying, Ellen? Thank you. Now, Soho is our fucking turf. And we will not have Christian nationalists come through these streets. We will fight. A friend of mine on a completely different day recently was punched in the face here in an explicitly homophobic attack. We have to stand up and save our neighbourhoods, our gay communities, our queer communities, our LGBTQ plus communities. We have to stand up against what's being done with trans rights at the moment. I mean, it's shocking. There's literally under this guidance nowhere for trans people to pee at all. And they're saying, well, you've got to campaign for third spaces. And where are trans people going to pee in the meantime? Do they think they're not going to... I mean, how long is that going to take? A lot of buildings in this country couldn't possibly take a third space. What are you talking about? We have to fight it. The WI and the Girl Guides this week have come out and said... But they have, both those organisations said, we didn't want to do this. We felt it was the only thing we could do. Now, you may disagree, and you may have felt that they couldn't, but the WI specifically said, we think trans women are women. We don't want to do this. This is policy being imposed. Now, you may say they should just absolutely ignore that policy and wait till all be arrested, and there's an argument for that. But there is also an argument to say, we need to fight our government and say, do not be bringing this here to our non-transphobic spaces. It's really, really important that we stand and fight. And today, Russell suggested a book that I'd already had a sneak peek of through a proof or something. That's a new book about the history of queerphobia. And so I wanted to do a little bit here, just to lead into that, about the history of queerphobia. And there's one... and queerphobia in general. And there's one figure that I hate at the moment for queerphobia more than anybody else. You can probably guess who it is. St. Paul. What a cunt. What a cunt. So he was Saul of Tarsus. Do you know, hold on. How many people know that Paul was a disciple? Just give us a cheer. Yes, exactly. He wasn't a fucking disciple. He was a marketing man who's convinced you all he was a disciple. He was never a disciple. He never met Jesus. If you wonder how I know this, by the way, some of you will know I was a Jehovah's Witness. And yes, sir, there are scary ways to meet me. I could be knocking on your door right now telling you you're wrong, rather than trying to convince you about Christian nationalism. You will be given a job before you leave, just to be clear. So I spent most of my young years on my knees, and not in a good way. So on the upside, I do know quite a lot about Scripture. And one of the things that I know is that Paul was a man at that time called Saul of Tarsus. And he was basically ICE. He was going to Damascus from Turkey to arrest Christians. He was ICE. And then on the way there, he reckoned that Jesus, who was long dead, struck him blind and appeared to him in a vision. Now, what I think happened is that he was a small fish in a big pond. He saw this sect and thought, I think I could be quite a big deal here. So I'm going to say I met Jesus. And I cannot help but feel that when he went and talked to the disciples and their friends who knew Jesus, that they must have questioned this, because his story was, Jesus struck me blind. And I can't help thinking that they were like, really? Because when Jesus was here, he was always healing blind people. He didn't strike anyone blind. Yeah, no, it's a bit different. He's gone up now and he's all into making people blind. So did he heal? You're not blind now, though. What's happened? Oh, yeah, you sent someone to heal me? What? He just sent a guy to heal me from Damascus. Doesn't matter. The point is, while I was blind, he said, got to stop persecuting the Christians, got to stop icing them. You need to be, I don't know how to say this, pretty important in Christianity. But you haven't even joined yet, really. You're just on the way to arrest us, and now suddenly you're in charge. Yeah, that's what he said. He was pretty clear. Really? What else did he say? My name's Paul now. What? Yeah, I've rebranded. And he said, did he say anything else? Yeah, no gays. What? No gays. He never said no gays when he was here, though. He was lovely. He was lovely. He hung out with 12 men who were all single exclusively. And I think it's quite clear that Thomas... Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is... That's not all he doubted. Look, what I'm saying is... The point is he never said anything negative about homosexuality while he was here. Yeah, he definitely said it on the road, though. Well, what did he look like? Doesn't matter. The point is it was definitely Jesus. Well, he's not appeared to any of us, so we knew him. Still, you weren't there. He was on the road. What else did he say? Women can't talk in the church? What? He never said that when he was here. He was always talking to women. In fact, when he was resurrected, he appeared to women. And he said to those women, go and tell everyone else that I'm back. If he didn't want women to speak in the church, why would he give them that responsibility? Yeah, he said that was an error. What? Yeah, he just changed his mind about lots of stuff. Anyway, here's a list of stuff he's changed his mind about. It is just... there must have been women there going, that was not Jesus. He was always hanging out with sex workers. What are you talking about? Yeah, no, it definitely says here, women, STFU. Like, that's just clear. Paul is the reason that we have so many rules in Christianity that are nothing to do with what Jesus said. What Jesus said is, love your neighbour, love God. And what Paul said is, and a lot of other horrible things that I've just decided are real. Having said that, without Paul, we wouldn't have Christianity. But that's another story. Without Paul, no, it's true. Without Paul, he was a great marketing man, and he got around the world. The only other guy really that was selling it was Peter, and Peter stayed in Jerusalem, and the Romans came and destroyed Jerusalem. So it would have just died a tiny sect. So I know, it's discouraging, isn't it? I feel like I've depressed you. Anyway, so they just said to him, really, is this absolutely true? And he said, yes. And they said, we're not sure, Saul, because last time we saw you were literally stoning people. And he said, don't dead name me, my name's Paul. But what he did is he changed the Overton window. And now, does everyone here know what the Overton window is? Just give us a cheer if you've heard of the Overton window. Give us a cheer if you don't know what the Overton window is. Okay, so we got to know what it is because we've got to shift it. So this part is quite proper. Okay, so it's a political science concept that wasn't invented by Paul, but he did shift the Overton window among Christians. It describes the range of policies, ideas that public finds acceptable at any given time. So in other words, when I was at university, abortion rights in this country were settled. So it wasn't acceptable to debate at the Oxford Union whether or not women and other people who had ovaries had the right to choose. That was just not, that was settled. So that was within the Overton window. Last year I was asked to go to the Oxford Union to debate whether or not we should have the right to choose. So in other words, that's come back into the centre of the Overton window. So this was invented by a man called Mr. Overton, as you can imagine. Joseph Overton. Okay, so this is a bit that I think I didn't really understand before. Acceptability spectrum. Ideas range from unthinkable. So I would say slavery should come back. Unthinkable. But can they move that to radical? That's the next stage on the Overton window. Radical. So now you might say, the idea of abortion being wrong is now radical in the UK. In America, they've managed to move it to acceptable. Do you know what the one after acceptable is? What's that? Mainstream, sort of, sensible. I like that one because that says if you don't agree with it, you don't have common sense. So you hear Reform talking about common sense a lot. And then we go into popular, and after popular, policy. Now, what we do on the left is we spend lots and lots of time trying to make things policy. And what the far right have been doing for the last 15 to 50 years is working on the Overton window, i.e. trying to convince people that things were once unthinkable are radical. Once there's a radical fringe, like Nick Fuentes at the moment. Now, he was unthinkable, and even the right wing, even Trump's lot, even the MAGA lot were like, no, he's absolutely off the charts, insane. No, we would not agree with him. The last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of articles in big, well-respected publications, including The Guardian, saying, oh no, Nick Fuentes, what they're essentially saying, has moved from unthinkable to radical. And they're saying there's going to be a big schism in the Republican Party because a lot of people like Nick Fuentes and think that Trump is not radical enough. So Now, when I was talking about Nick Fuentes like a year ago, a lot of people said, don't be alarmist. Like friends of mine said, don't be alarmist. He is a radical fringe. So if you make, you kind of, when you say, but we've got to worry about this person, people go, you're kind of talking shit. We don't need to listen to anything you've got to say. So why I think we do is we need to, not to give them lots of airtime, I don't mean that, but we need to keep an eye on that and watch what has been going from unthinkable to radical. Because some people are now, a lot of young people, are saying that Nick Fuentes is verging towards acceptable or even sensible. Now, they're in the minority at the moment, but that's how the Overton window works. It doesn't start with acceptable or popular, or it's always edging towards policy. So 12 years ago in this country, when we had, members of the Tory party advocating for self-ID, we were in a different part of the Overton window for trans rights. I never thought we would get here. I never thought we'd get to policy so quickly. But they are really, really patient. So today, we're going to talk to Russell T Davies about the Overton window, and we're going to talk about the role that television has in the Overton window. We're going to talk about the role story has, and also how we can use story in other parts of our activism, because we're not all going to get shows commissioned on the BBC. God knows I've tried. Now, I feel like I've done a lecture now, so I sort of need to bring you back. You say, what's your name? Paul. Did it used to be Saul? Did it used to be Saul? Has there been a rebrand? Because if you are the living embodiment of St. Paul, I've just got to say, you're not welcome here. You're in... You've been doing your bit for the other side? Making up for Paul's homophobia? How? With rampant homosexuality? Yep, got it. Absolutely. All right. And with that in mind, please welcome to the stage my co-host this evening, fresh off a line bike, it's the incredible Jessica Fostekew.
Deborah, I did not expect to meet Russell T Davies in leggings. What a strange career. Hello. Also, the word fresh is strong, Debs. In my case, there's only so much that perfume can hide. It's lovely to be here.
I really appreciate it, Jess. Yeah. I really appreciate it, because I was like, oh, fuck, Grace is stuck on a train. And, she had guitar action ready. I nearly asked you if you could sing a song.
No.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here.
I'm so sorry that that's not in my tool shed.
No. Listen, I'm just delighted that you put down the heavy thing you were lifting and jumped in that taxi. And then I'm such a hero for jumping on a line bike, because I don't know that I would have done that. I think I would have said, you've got to busk until I get
Deborah,
there.
I'd give anything to see you on a line bike.
It's never going to happen.
Life full of peaks.
It's never ever going to happen.
It would be majestic. Just fluttering. It's never going to happen in your lifetime. Oh, okay.
Well, if it did, I would just die. I would just fall off and hit my head immediately. I've got friends who cycle home on line bikes smashed, like having had a couple of drinks.
That is silly.
With no helmets. And I'm just like, London is not, so this is just a PSA. We need you all in the fight, so nobody is to ride a line bike without a helmet. Did you have a helmet?
I did. I'm not afraid to say it. I know I'm in the company of people I'm going to get on with when I get compliments as I walk into any room on my collapsible bike helmet. I've got one that you can fold up and pop in a bag. I don't care. It's not going to get me laid.
You don't know.
Wow, really?
I feel like you take that into a lesbian bar.
You're looking for a very... Debs!
Oh, a collapsible bike
You're
helmet.
sharking round a very niche kink if you're looking for somebody who's...
Listen, if you can think of it, it's out there.
Yeah.
Put it on Field.
I didn't know what that is.
Want to see? Oh, it's an app that's like a kinky app.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. You know about Field?
I don't think that there's much of a crossover in the Venn diagram of people who get a boner over a collapsible bike helmet and who even know what field is.
You would be very surprised.
Okay.
I'm going to put it on there. I'm going to make a profile for you just to see.
Thank you.
This is The Guilty Feminist, the podcast in which we explore our noble goals as 21st century feminists and our hypocrisies and insecurities which undermine them. I'm Deborah Frances-White, or with me is Jessica Fostekew, and today we're talking about homophobia and how to fight it in an age of far-right Christian nationalism. All right, would you like to hear Jess Fostekew do a little bit of stand-up comedy? Then please welcome to the stage Jessica Fostekew.
Hey. Okay, where to begin? I do love PE. I'm in an odd position because I'm also getting older, so, you know, I'm in an odd situation in the sense I do so much PE that I'm probably the fittest and strongest I've ever been, but because of my age, a couple of weeks ago, pulled a muscle in my shoulder playing rock, paper, scissors. And my body gives me regular sort of little notelets, little kind of, little slips a little note to me that it's not the same as it was. I haven't got ADHD, but that is annoying. There was fluff there. There's fluff in the air. By which I mean, haven't got a diagnosis. Let's clarify that. The biggest kind of little note that I got that my body's not the same as it was a flirt that went wrong. It was my partner doing the flirt. It was my girlfriend doing the flirt. She's a great woman, but she is an eccentric flirt. She is a she. Should we cover that? First boyfriend I've ever had who's a woman. Why not? What's fun about that is because I've been with her years now, but before her, there was so many men. My friends of old, my oldest friends, have just got brave enough to start asking me things actually about that. And I had a friend kind of in a lovely conversation say to me, is there any difference, you know, even with your like most kind of progressive head on, now that you've had a long-term relationship with a woman, is there any difference between that and the relationships you've had with men? And, you know, it's 2025 for a long time. I thought, I suppose it's the first relationship I've ever had where we occasionally get our pants modelled up. I suppose it's probably the first relationship I've ever had where we've got sort of effortlessly comprehensive and compassionate communication, zero status games, funniest partner I've ever had, most curious partner I've ever had, exquisite conflict resolution, equal division of domestic drudgery, and loads more, way more intense orgasms. But in the moment, I could only really think of the pants. Also, I said that list of things recently in a place called Beckenham. And, and at the end of the list, an older gentleman at the back of the room shouted out, "So, which one do you prefer?" Which, in 18 years of being a stand-up, is potentially my favourite ever received heckle. My missus is an extraordinary person in so many ways, but a very deeply weird flirt. As in, I'm yet to meet anyone who has done or received this particular manoeuvre. You can relax, this is a daytime gig, and it was a daytime flirt. This is very PG, I'll just demonstrate it. She sort of sidled up beside me, hand over the far shoulder, honk of the boob. And some of you like it, and some of you above it. If you do think you're above that, I think you're wrong. I think on paper, it's a brilliant flirt. And I think if you've been in your relationship for several years, it's potentially the perfect flirt. Because think about it, what does it say? It says, hey, we're more than friends, but I'm not going to take up too much of your day. You are welcome. The only problem with it in our case was it turns out these days my boob was too low down. Just for absolute clarity of picture here, she's got, if anything, pretty long arms. That's not the issue. Also, Soho, she's no quitter. I could feel the strain. There's a little shake in it. I'm going to interrupt my own story to tell you that when this had very first happened, I was on my last tour and I was in Norwich, which is a lovely place to gig, and I got a very well-intended message on Instagram from a lady afterwards who said, thank you for a lovely show. I had a nice time, just one bone to pick. Just one bone to pick. She said, I don't think you get to do comedy about having dangly old bosoms. Thank you very much. Certainly not when you're confident enough to have done the whole show with no bra on. Well, I had a bra on. actually a new bra. Back to the flirt. I do think it's a great flirt, but it is wacky. It's out there, it's innovative. And that means, it's got to go right first time. Because if it doesn't go right, it is a disaster. She froze, I froze, both of us quickly kind of realising there's no styling it out. No one in the history of romance has ever knowingly gone for a hunk of rib. I think we can all agree I was left with no choice other than to do what I did do, scoop it up and pass it to her. So, if nothing else, she could at least give it a quick pat and we could get on with our day. And this is a very recent thought, but I'm in a really odd position where I think that my midlife crisis is manifesting really differently to a normal person because I'm a comedian. I've been doing this for over 18 years now. And I think, unfortunately, I've got like a very odd midlife crisis because my life has been, if anything, too fun and too creative. So my heart, unlike people kind of, taking up being a life drawing model, my heart yearns for facts and solids. I am thinking about doing some accountancy for fun. Your flashy motorbike is my kind of, yes, I will subscribe to the new Adobe upgrade. It is so weird, and I don't know where it's going to end. Do you know what I mean? I've got friends being like, do you know what? I'm going to go to Bali for a month and fuck it all off. And I'm like, wow, I bought a litter picker. I've got a fear, is my point, that if it escalates much further, I might go back to being straight. No! Okay, I'm going to work on that, but it's got potential. Let's leave you with this. My girlfriend did the gayest thing I've ever seen. This feels perfect to tell you that. She's a whole lesbian. I'm bisexual, pansexual, whatever. She's a whole lesbian. It's relevant because if you are a whole lesbian, especially if you are a lifetime member, as she is, that can come with a glorious, beautiful naivety. So with that in mind, she did the gayest thing I've ever seen. It started just before her birthday. Her mum asked if there's anything she would like as a gift. She did a little list of bits and bobs she wouldn't mind getting. On that list, amongst other things, was a reusable water bottle. Her birthday comes and goes, and she doesn't get the bottle. She gets actually almost everything else on that list, but she doesn't think about it. She's a grown-up. She needs one, she buys one. Perhaps you can see where this is going. A few months pass, and she gets a video call from her mum saying, oh, bloody hell. I just found a birthday present I bought for you. I'd wrapped it and everything, and I just stuck it in a cupboard. Honestly, I don't know what's wrong with me. I've posted it to you now anyway, and she was relaying this to me, saying, I was telling my mum, you needn't have posted it. I've already bought myself one now, haven't I? Now I'm going to be like that. That's exactly how you said it, is it, to your mum? Thank you.
Jessica Fostekew, everybody! If you're listening at home, Jessica Fostekew did a mime. Now, she mimed drinking out of two water bottles, but it looked obscene.
In a lovely way.
In a lovely way. All right. It's time. I know. All right. Our guest today is one of the leading television dramatists of our age, who shot to fame with Queer as Folk, brought Doctor Who back from the dead, broke our hearts with It's a Sin, and will shortly be bringing us The War Between the Land and the Sea. Please do lots of clapping, cheering, break laws if necessary to welcome to the stage Russell T Davies!
Hello. Is that working?
Welcome.
Hello.
Hi. Can I just say, I've learnt a lot today because I worked very hard at television drama for many years, and you write them, and then you film them, you cast them, you film them, you edit them, and then you transmit them, and you hope that people will like them. And now I discover Jess thinks the lead character is dead. What the hell? He's so not dead.
I'm not clever in some ways.
You didn't write the John Lewis Christmas advert, did you?
I wish.
I did Google check that.
I don't know who does those, But someone said they thought it was lifted from Sunburn, that independent movie.
Oh.
Does someone else think that? Yeah, that it was sort of lifted from Sunburn, the indie
Oh, God,
movie.
I imagine that happens quite a bit.
Enough about
After
John Lewis.
Sun.
After Sun, sorry. Sorry, thank you.
I don't know why that's tickled me so much. Is it called After Sun and you've accidentally called it Sunburn?
Yes.
I think we should allow ourselves a bit more joy at that.
Sunburn was a drama with Michelle Collins as a holiday rep.
That's
all remember
right.
that.
I'm a
It's a great
feminist,
show.
but I sound like your mum. Yes, that lovely
I think
film
they
we
lifted it
saw,
from El Dorado.
Sunburn. That was a delight.
I'm sure it was a storyline in
Yes,
El
it
Dorado.
had Joan Crawford in it. Not Joan
Yes.
Crawford. What's the other one? Britney
Oh,
Spears.
she said, I brought you...
That one. Yes.
Britney said, I bought you a lovely record.
Oh, God. Russell.
Sorry,
Thank
Russell.
you for coming to do this today. Really appreciate it. The invitation was inspired by your incredible speech at the Welsh BAFTAs.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
And that made me feel like I feel you've always been a political writer because you've always written about things that shift the Overton window, I think. But what inspired you to make that speech right now?
Well, the world now, really, because we're sliding into hell. And it's I am amazed you sit at those award ceremonies, and I think you have to grab those moments. I think we all live in a world now where if you get a microphone, use it. And you sit through 2 hours at an award ceremony with, fair enough, people thanking their mums and dads and their agents. But that's not the point, I think. You can do that in 2 seconds. And then, if you've got a microphone, say something.
Yes.
Because I think you have to. So, and I know I'm allowed. I get fed up of listening to myself. I watch those things go, oh, shut up, like that. But I can't help it. Here I am, I've got a microphone. Cancel your tea. I'm here.
Can you recap a little bit what you said and what you were thinking?
It was about, it's about what you deal with a lot in television is compliance. What compliance is if you hand in a script and you've established the characters aren't dead, then then compliance means, is this fair? Have you slandered, have you slandered someone? Is that advertising? Is the language too much? Is that too violent? And it's a two-way process. You can say, no, it's not too violent. That's meant to be a violent scene, blah, blah, blah. And I can literally feel... And so I've done that for decades. And now I literally feel compliance getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And I'm not attacking the compliance officers because they're doing their job and they have bosses above them. But now you get more, you can't say that. You can't say that. And that can't be said. And for example, in this new forthcoming drama, I've got someone who's the complete opposite of what I think, who's actually gender critical in it. And I think it's very important to get voices like that on screen. And so she says something gender critical, and they say, someone has to disagree with her in the scene. I'm going, well, I can't. It's just a two-hander with her and her friend. Do you want someone to pop in the door? Go, I disagree, ma'am. It's like, they're almost reaching the point of what they're suggesting. Someone has to say, no, you're wrong within this scene. That's not how drama works.
No.
And so that's because that's always been the way. You have to be fair. I get that. Actually, I don't think you have to be fair. I don't think drama has to be fair for a second. No. That's not what life is.
Now is the winter of our discontent. No, it's not. To be or not to be, very good. Both sides, balance, for balance. Very good. Presumably that was a commission from the BBC.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ.
You proved their point.
Yeah.
So I just felt, and if I'm getting that, also what I'd say, I'm 62 years old, I've been writing for decades, and if I'm getting that, what is the 21-year-old writer getting? Who does I can sit there and say no, and I know how to say no, and I know how to escalate it if I have to, and actually I know sometimes they're right as well. Okay, fine, I'll change something. But if you're 21 or 18, if you're writing your first script, then you haven't got the power or the reference or the experience.
You're not yet trusted enough.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you think these are orders, and they're not orders. In fairness, they're not. No one is ordering you to change it, but they're very strongly suggesting you do. I feel that getting stronger, and I feel it particularly around the area of especially queerness. Well, that's what I write about, so naturally that's what my notes are about. Yeah. And it's time to start kind of digging in and say no. And not for my sake, but for younger people coming up in the industry. I think it's very vital.
And absolutely.
I'm glad we got a cathartic clap in, because there's something really harmonious and beautiful, but also frustrating about when this many people go, at the same time. Yeah. That was a lovely moment of
It's
all at once.
It's true that the point of the drama may well be that we need to allow trans people to live in the world, but a person in the drama could be gender critical.
Yes.
And if someone immediately disagrees with that person, that can destroy your story, because also that is not, well, it's certainly not how stories work, it's not how life works.
Yes, exactly.
So the idea that we have to have now, not just on a panel, someone for balance, even if the for balance voice is someone who is way outside the Overton window now. We are...
I've got to say, in fairness, that this is a show I've written next year for Channel 4 called Tiptoe, which should be going in May or June or something. And I don't want to talk too much about it because if I start blabbing now, by the time it comes round, it looks like a repeat. Yeah, I've heard about that one. It's like, you need to keep your powder dry for next year. Yes. But nonetheless, I hope you watch it. I'm very proud of it. Alan Cummings in it, David Morrissey's in it. Love those people. I know. And it's a brutal piece of work. It's about where we are now. And in terms of queer politics, and about life as a whole, and the rise of hatred in society and populism, and it's absolutely brutal. So I've got to say, in fairness to those compliance people, when you see it, you'll find it hard to believe I had a single problem with anything.
Right.
Because I absolutely get to say what I want and say it strongly and loudly, and you might disagree, but it's certainly there. So I am genuinely worried on other people's behalf.
Yes.
I'm selfless, but it's like, I don't know if you get that made if you were 21.
But also where it's going, because this year it's a suggestion and next year it's not. Or they can say, well, then we won't do it. And I already think sometimes with some of the streamers, that's the case. If you're in development, they'll go, oh, well, we'll pull back from this then.
It's funny because you talk about that Overton window, and I'm being very lucky to be on the good side of it. And I do genuinely now look back, I've had probably the majority of my career now, and I've had a great time and a powerful time. And I'd like to think I've used my time well. And I was very much there at a marvellous phase of things becoming acceptable, sensible, mainstream, which is portraying gay and queer stories on screen. And I'm very much aware that I get a lot of credit for writing Queer as Folk in 1998, and it was on in 1999. And I'm very proud of it as well. But I know, because I was there, that I was absolutely part of a movement, that society was moving that way. And had been for decades. People always talk about like the 1967 Wolfenden report, the decriminalisation of homosexuality. That's often spoken of as a great big battle, and we won that battle. I portrayed that battle in A Very English Scandal, and that thing I did about Jeremy Thorpe. I kind of had to over-traumatise it, because the truth of it is, some people say, that wasn't that big a battle. Margaret Thatcher voted for gay rights in that vote. It was very much, society was shifting.
Yes.
And thinking from the radical to the sensible, saying, of course we should be kinder to homosexuals. It was the first step of many, but that was gradual. So in the 90s, I was working in television. I was working at Granada Television, which in Manchester, which was a fantastic place to work, and it was glorious. I met someone in the street yesterday who I hadn't seen for 30 years, and we both worked together. We practically hugged with joy at the great time that we had there. And during that time, and this is just one building in Manchester, before Queer as Folk, go back a decade, from the early 90s onwards, we were working on soap operas and putting gay characters in. I wrote a lesbian vicar in a thing called Revelations. We had gay schoolboys coming out at 16 when the law of consent was 18 in this thing called Spring Hill. We were doing more and more and more. I did an HIV story on a program called Children's Ward, and then I did a show called The Grand, in which I did a very big, which was like kind of cheap Downton Abbey, and I had a barman coming out to the closet in that for a whole episode. So that you could feel the window shifting there. It's like, and Paul Marquis worked in that department. He's the man who went on to create Footballers' Wives, slightly gay, and a fantastic woman they call Anne McManus, who passed away recently, and she ended up creating Bad Girls, with one of the strongest lesbian relationships ever seen on screen, which was just like a year after Queer as Folk. And she was on Coronation Street inventing Hayley, the first trans character, played by Julie Hesmondhalgh. So you could see that window shifting, and so Queer as Folk was like surfing across the tide of that. You're absolutely right in describing a movement heading towards that, and I'm very lucky. I always say someone else would have written Queer as Folk if I hadn't. And thank fuck I did. Hooray! I'm really glad. And it's funny because I know Kathy Burke told me this once. It's like there were people in London when Queer as Folk came out going, "Who the fuck's he?" because I wasn't particularly trendy, or I wasn't known at all in any way. I was like, I just kind of snuck up on the sidelines and bang, got that commission, hooray. And I wasn't part of it. I wasn't visibly part of a mainstream movement heading towards that.
Well, you were from not London. And
Yeah.
you know how Londoners feel about that.
Exactly.
Yeah. What do you think you're doing? What do you think you're doing?
We're in Soho. We'll be tarred and feathered and carried out.
I mean, what you said about 1967 is really interesting because what it means is the policy came much later than the fight. So, in other words, it was too late. It should have been earlier when it was more of a fight. The fact that the policy took so long because people had fought for decades and it had been dreadful, but by the time it was partially decriminalised, and it was only partially decriminalised, I only found this out recently, gay men couldn't have sex in a hotel.
Yes.
Had to be a private home.
Yeah.
I mean, so random. You couldn't get a hotel room.
Mad, isn't it?
And couldn't be more than 2 people there.
Yes.
Which
I'm
sort of like, well, why would you think they were going to be? I mean, they probably were, but that's not the point. That's not the point. You shouldn't assume there's going to be more than 2 people there. So you couldn't get a hotel room. And then in 1968, they were much harder on cottaging. And there were many more arrests because they were like, don't think because it's decriminalised you can do it in a public place. But we're not allowed to do it in a hotel.
It's always nice to think that every time they invented those rules of no more than 2 people in a hotel room, someone was furiously masturbating. Really. They got off on that. No more than 2 men!
Do you think they were masturbating as they were legislating?
Yeah.
For sure. You heard that here first.
Come on.
Yeah.
For sure the legislators were masturbating as they made those rules. They're like, it's not fun anymore if it's not naughty.
And that's why people become lawyers. Any lawyers in? Furious
Absolutely not true. But well, maybe it was.
Yeah, in terms of how that Overton window, this is miserable, but has shifted. I mean, even just in terms of
But it's shifting now. That's my point. Yes.
Yeah, and so I mean, the idea of Thatcher voting for that, the idea that queer marriage coming in under Cameron, the idea that a progressive queer policy could be enacted by the current Conservative.
But actually, because I've got a Theresa May story. Aren't you glad to hear that?
Yeah.
Doesn't every great party
It's a
start with
blast from
that?
the past.
Well, because of the shift in the Overton window, Theresa May looks like fucking Tony Benn.
Well, she brought in the blood scandal inquiry, fair dues.
Yeah.
And but actually, this is genuinely a good Theresa May story that I think is important to be heard because it's very easy for us to be left wing and just swing over here. And I don't like to name names in this because it's not my story. But I'll tell you anyway. They had one of those. When the Conservatives were in power, they had one of those gay days at Downing Street, and where they invite all the queers along, and it's a bit Vichy government kind of thing. It's like I was invited, I didn't go. I was just like, I can't go to that, I can't bear it. But someone I know went, and he's a very powerful gay businessman, very very good heart on him, very good heart, and he went there with an intent to cause trouble, like to find out, you were not happily walking in. So Theresa May was there, and she had voted against same-sex marriage. And so very politely, he thought, I'm going to have a word with her. So, hello, Mrs. May, I'm so-and-so, this is my partner, and can I say, I very much have a problem with the way you voted. I wish you hadn't done that for this reason, that reason, that reason. Well, she said, you're right. And she sat down with them, and she said, you've got to understand my past. I was brought up as a vicar's daughter. I believe this. I went to church. I believe that. I was taught this in the scriptures. I believe this. I believe that. And it's very, in the middle of this story, at one point, someone came to take her. Imagine it's Downing Street. It's a do. It's a function. Someone came to take her away. And she said, I'll be back in a minute. And she did come back. She came back and said, I want to finish this story. So she said, yes, I voted against gay marriage. But then, and is incredibly, this story has to now create another hero, that George Osborne... I'm sorry.
Stop it.
I'm sorry. George Osborne, who apparently has a past where his family had worked, I think, in fashion or textiles or milliners. He'd known a lot of gay people when he was young. He came along and said, you're wrong about this, and let me introduce you to people. Let's talk about this. So
George Osborne said, I've met a gay man.
I've met a gay man.
And he was fine. I think he should be allowed to marry another gay man if I were to meet one, and come and meet him. And then she said, the scales have fallen from my eyes.
And she said, yes, I'm wrong. That is what happened.
Well, look, we want people to say when they're wrong. Absolutely.
I think the problem with this story is, and I absolutely have to respect her for that, the problem with this story is, we live in a world where she's got nowhere she can say that in public. For a start, she probably chooses not to say that in public because she probably lose all her votes. But actually, Laura Kunzberg wouldn't let her finish that story.
No.
Jeremy Vine wouldn't let her finish. I listened to Jeremy Vine the other day where they were slagging off Rachel Reeves incessantly. Who gives a fuck? It's like, it was good, that budget in places. And he was literally shouting at the Labour MP who was trying to defend her. And it's all every journalist now is out to get a headline and is out to be clickbait and just shouts and interrogates. Are you lying? Are you lying? Are you lying? There's no arena, not one of those politics spaces is a safe space for someone to say a 10-minute anecdote like that.
None of the public ones.
Crucially wrong.
Yeah.
Very, very wrong. Equally, the Labour Party doesn't have anywhere where they've got 10 minutes to explain. Can we just point out that we've cut the 2-child poverty limit there? It's like, what a good thing we did. So we're all to blame for this whole media. Exactly. This whole media system that doesn't allow anyone to talk freely. That's the end of my good Theresa May story.
That's great.
Never say it again. But, you know,
But she did advocate for self-ID for trans people as well. I don't think she would now, though, because the conversation has shifted back. And sometimes what politicians are doing with the window, they only go for policy. There's no way David Cameron would have ratified equal marriage if it had cost him one vote.
Yeah.
He reckoned it wouldn't cost him... He reckoned it would gain him more votes than it would lose him. And he gambled well, because it did. So, you know, but do you think if the Overton window had said, no, this isn't sensible, he would have done that? I don't think he would, because politicians... This is why we've got to be working on how people feel. Like, with Road to Gilead, we're doing a big, an open space day, coming up with ideas, and I think, like, book groups all over the UK.
Well, it's time for me to talk about the book, because I brought here today. This is called The Queer Thing About Sin. It's by a man called Harry Tanner. And it's a brilliant book. I highly recommend it. And it's simply about how everything we're going through today, homophobia and connected to the crisis in the economy, has been happening for thousands and thousands of years and happens over and over again. He's a brilliant man, Harry. I went to the book launch. It's technically a history of homophobia, or queerphobia. And at the book launch, he gave a speech, he said this incredible, I loved him, he gave this incredible sentence where he said, I've traced the provenance of the cruelty that stalks our lives. I mean, wow. Plus, he's called Harry Tanner. Isn't that a great name?
Yeah.
I wish I was Harry Tanner.
It's a Dickensian goodie, isn't it?
Hi, I'm Harry Tanner.
It's a great... It is a Dickensian goodie. It is. I was sent a proof of this, and I loved it. And especially the stuff about, like, Augustine, where he thought...
Oh, you love the filthy bits. Yeah.
I didn't say that, but what I discovered about him is at that time, actually, there wasn't a lot of homophobia. There was a lot of... Because there were various Gnostic groups. Some of them were celibate, some of them were free love. But it wasn't particularly homophobic. It was just... But there was a school of thought that if you fasted and if you gave up sex, you'd be closer to God, which is sort of the monkery of it all, the nunnery of it all. Which is, if all you do is talk to God and you don't let any of these other base urges in. So he was having one meal every 2 days. And he also, but he had a baby with a woman and he was like thinking, no, this is just all distracting me. So he did what men did. He thought, I'll leave the woman with the baby and go and be godly. I've got a bigger fish to fry, he said. And he then decided that erections were what stood between him and free will.
How fucking big were they?
It wasn't necessarily the...
You remember.
Sizes do vary, Russell. It wasn't necessarily the size of the erection, but more the spontaneity of it.
Yeah,
that
I've misunderstood the bit.
Which... He's not dead. Well, Augustine is dead, actually. He's really old. But 4th century this is, I think. But he didn't... He just said, in the Garden of Eden, before the fall, he reckoned that there were no spontaneous erections, that Adam would go, I want an erection now, please, and it would pop up. And it presumably always reliable, but never unbidden, because that was when he had free will. And it was the fall that caused the inconvenience, hard-on. And this is absolutely ecclesiastical, according to Augustine. So he believed that, and he then said, well, if it's popping up unbidden, you're lusting after a man. No. And he sort of brought homosexuality back after Paul had dropped it in. So Paul dropped us in it, and then St Augustine brought it back. It had gone out of fashion again.
Those are the days. Those are the days.
But that's fascinating, isn't it? That there's not something fundamental in Christianity.
No.
So when we're talking about the Christian nationalists now, there's not something fundamental. Can you tell us more about this book?
Yeah. I hate to
part.
read from a book, but I am going to read from a book because I find this interesting. And this is what I'm saying about these things rising and falling, which is the
so to speak, unbidden,
but only bidden, only when bidden.
But there was a time that it's terrible to read out, but it's a history of Athens, and a man called Solon was the ruler of Athens, and he passed wonderful laws, not just about gayness, but he passed laws where he cancelled debt, and he changed the currency so the debt was more repayable, and he set certain people free. And in a fair society, he was also a poet. He was an amazing man. In a fair society, homosexuality was more accepted. Just 100 years later. 100 years later, I think he was there in about 539 BC or something. 100 years later, everything tilted. He was gone, dead. And what this book shows extraordinarily and terrifyingly is that every so often throughout history, rich men will emerge beyond the church and beyond the government who seize power for themselves and ignore the law. Elon Musk just keeps happening and happening and happening all the way through history. It's an extraordinary thing to read. And, that's quite depressing, and I'm sorry, that's a really terrible thing to hear. But I promise you, go and read the whole book. Yeah. And it's optimistic in the end. It gives you hope. It talks about how these things do fall, how the windows swing back, how goodness rises, how right a place we have in the world. So read the entire thing, and somewhere in there's a lot of hope. Harry Tanner's a very brilliant man. You should have him on the show. I actually think he's a visionary. I think I've never seen anyone sum up history and economics and sexuality so clearly, how combined they are. So I love him. Highly recommended. Have that. What a book to have for Christmas. Mum.
Yeah.
Can I have the queer thing about sin, please? Well, you should.
I was going to say, get yourself one and then get your Tory stepdad one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting because essentially every time there's a financial crash, and this is classical times, this is medieval times, some men who want to benefit from this and somehow make something for themselves spread homophobia again, spread queerphobia. And
no women, not a single woman in there claiming power and doing that.
No, there aren't women. We don't tend to do that. The only women that really break through in politics, I think, are the ones that play the man's game. But there are brilliant trans mask monks in there as well, aren't there, Russell?
Yes, amazing. It just goes to prove that nothing is new. Everything has happened before. Everything will happen again. But learn from that is the point. That's why Harry's written that, so that we learn. And as your entire podcast, this entire road to Gilead is saying, learn and change direction now before the direction has changed for you, then it's much harder.
What do you think the role of television is? So we had Lucy Winkett on recently, the amazing vicar of rector of St James's Piccadilly, and she said she got all this hate mail, constant hate mail, because she was one of the first female vicars and they just couldn't stand seeing a woman in a clerical collar. And I said to the vicar of Digby change things for you. She said, oh, massively. She said, because people love Dawn French and then they just got used to seeing it. And then she said the hot priest from Fleabag changed things again because it sexed up the clergy. And she said, oh, that was a wonderful era for us. Now, how much do you think... Because you say Queer as Folk was part of a movement, and yes, but also, without all the parts of the movement, there's no movement. How much do you think... Because I remember Queer as Folk being absolutely transgressive, and I went back to watch it, and I was like, oh, holy fuck. And this is late 90s.
Strong, isn't it?
Yeah. There's some things in that now I think would be hard to get on TV, in some ways harder. And that's really interesting. How much do you think it shifted the conversation?
Well, that's a hard one for me to judge, because as far as I'm concerned, I've been writing these stories for decades now, for years and years and years and years, and the world has got worse. So fat lot of good I did. Genuinely, I looked at it going, well, what happened there then? And do you know what? I tell you what, although I don't want to talk too much about Tiptoe next year, here I am. And but actually, what's at the heart of Tiptoe scares me to death, and that's why I wrote it. I wrote it in absolute fury, but also in absolute terror. And very quickly, and it poured out to me, because we have fought all these years for equality and visibility and acceptance, And to some extent, we've got that. I mean, we all know that's qualified, that you could be sitting at home listening to this podcast as a 15-year-old queer girl, terrified. But just like it always was when we were young. Nonetheless, you have to take a deep breath and say, in terms of visibility and equality and acceptance, we're in a better position.
And access to community.
Actually, what if they don't like it? I think that's the scary part that comes next. What if visibility turns out to be scrutiny and they don't like what they see? And that's what I think we're seeing now. It's like there are, as far as I'm concerned, there are a lot of gay stories. There's a lot of gay people, queer people on screen. There's a lot. Of course there can be more. I think there should be more. But it's very, very visible. And yet here we are with an absolutely visible backlash coming towards us. Is that because we've been so visible? And that's not me suggesting we take a backward step for a single second. But I never saw this coming. That's what I never thought. I always thought it through as far. People always say to me, "Why do you go on about being gay in interviews?" And I literally sit there going, because I think I have to, because I think it's important to be visible. So I think if there's someone who wants to be a writer and wants to stand up in public and get a microphone, that you prove you can be gay in public. And I think it's a really important thing to do. And I really happily identify myself with that. And I kind of thought that was the end of the conversation. That's how arrogant we were. And that's how I just never thought any further past that. And now here we are. And I'm thinking, Christ, what if what's past that is not good? And here they are with the King's Army standing in Soho. That's just the start. And what terrifies me, and you know this, is talk about that Overton window. It's like when things start like this with the King's Army, we laugh. They're nuts. Good jokes. That's what Nigel Farage was 20 years ago.
Exactly.
A joke, funny, laughable, and irrelevant and impossible. Swing that window forward, it's now possible he could be the Prime Minister. So when you look at that King's Army standing there, oh, they're nutters, they're insane, they're nothing. Swing forward 20 years, where will we be? So I found that terrifying.
I truly believe that visibility on television has done incredible things. I wrote a book called 6 Conversations We're Scared to Have, so I had to do a lot of research on this, available in all good bookshops and some mediocre ones, also great for your racist uncle for Christmas. But I tracked Modern Family being on the television and the American attitude towards equal marriage, and it is extraordinary because it had flatlined for years. The Overton window was like, no marriage, no marriage, no marriage, no marriage. And then Mitch and Cam come on the TV. And you just see it just go, and then everyone. Now, lots of campaigners were doing their work. It's part of a movement. It can't be the only thing. There's a lot of stuff going on.
But that's interesting.
But it does really loosen that jar. And
that's now 10 years old.
Yes.
And now you've got a Republican fight. It could be argued, was that too visible? And now the backlash is happening?
I don't think so.
I never think it's too visible. I'm just using that as a...
I don't think so. I think it's more strategic than that. It's more when the population at large decides that this is sensible, and then it becomes, and then popular, and then becomes policy. There are, as you say, in the history of that book, it was shock to me how classical and medieval it was that some rich dudes come along and go, hold on, too many of these people are happy, too many of these people are fulfilled. They are not going to be wanting to just work very hard for us, be poor and die. And they're getting self-actualization, and I think why queerness is particularly terrifying to the powers that be is that it defies norms. And when you get something like Pride, which is, and I think queer people, and the more visibly queer someone is, the more of a transgressive act it is, because it says, I will never please you. My very being, my very existence cannot please to the most conforming norms, so I might as well stick some sequins on it, turn up the Kylie and dance in the street. If you are a femme white woman, especially a straight femme white cis woman, if you are, you can sort of almost please them. So it's a temptation to do it, but you will only ever end up as a wife in Gilead. That's the best you can be. In my experience, having been in a patriarchal cult that's very Gilead-like, I would suggest that the only reward for obedience is opportunities for more obedience. And when I see trans women, I know why the establishment is frightened, because they're not doing anything that the norms and conforms would ask. They're not even trying. In fact, they're going, I can't, so I'll often ostentatious and flamboyant, and I'll wear a bright colour and I'll put on a hat. And that is terrifying, because what example does that set for all the other people turning up for Jeff Bezos to work 20 hour, 10, 15-hour shifts for no loo breaks and all of that sort of stuff? That's what I think it is. So, Russell, can I not just suggest, can I beg you, be more visible, make more shows, because you have got the heft. Yes. Do everything you can to norm,
doing it.
To norm and norm and norm and norm and norm, because there's not that many people with the power to do that, and you have never been too visible. You've been, your visibility has been beamed into the living rooms and the bedrooms now with iPads and things of queer young people who have very little else in some cases. And with Christian nationalism sweeping this nation, sometimes now there's going to be families who are going to be saying their core of you is wrong, your soul is bad. And they must have you, Russell, because if they don't have you, what have they got? And we must also create more work, whether that be grassroots, whether that be whatever it is that we can do. We might not be able to get the same commissions, but whatever we can do, and we must also support there's some women in the front row laughing there. We must support what comes on. When Tiptoe comes out, we must all watch it.
Thank you.
Thank you for tell other people to watch it.
Beautiful thing to say. Thank you very much.
Are you okay to take some questions from the audience?
Yeah.
Questions from the audience?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi, yeah.
I'm here. I'll stand up so you can see me. I'm here with a group of cis women today. We're called Neon Women. We've launched a letter, which is called Not in Our Name, Women in Support of the Trans Community.
Wow, all right.
Our letter has now got 67,000 signatures from other women around the country.
Amazing.
And as well as very blatantly putting a plug for that, I'd like to ask you, as cis women allies, what more we can be doing to support the trans community. And thank you for everything you do.
Well, you're doing an enormous amount in setting this up.
Well, but exactly that, really. I find myself in the invidious position now of there should be a trans person on stage answering this, and no disrespect there, but ask them. Ask them, literally ask them, this is the problem, put them into the conversation, put them on the stage, give them the microphone. It's what I said at the very beginning, give them the microphone, off you go. People listen, that's when clips get memed and sent everywhere. And it's a tricky one, because actually I know you're talking about trans people, you talk about certain trans women wearing clothes and being flamboyant and brilliant. I find an awful lot of trans people I know are simply quiet.
Yeah. Now,
yes. Always have been.
Yes, I should say not all trans women dress in very extravagantly, but I'm talking about pride and the ability to just go, oh, fuck it then. And I should clarify, many trans people, as you say, are making themselves less visible.
Simply quiet. Most people are quiet in most of their life, simply leading their life.
Yes.
And it's very, very difficult to they know if they stand up and become that spokesperson, the fucking attacks they will have are beyond measure. So that's the tricky thing. That's the kind of, and thank you so much for doing what you're doing. I think that's amazing. But here I am speaking on behalf of trans people.
We will,
But it's a matter of working out ways to get those voices audible without forcing people into the spotlight who might not want to be in the spotlight. It's a very, very tricky thing to do, but can be done. And there are people willing to speak up, and there are people willing to want to do that. So it's a matter of shifting them onto the spotlight, them the microphone, they get the slot on television. That's the important thing to do.
Yes. And we will do more shows.
We're forever hearing this debate amongst gay people, queer people, straight people, but not amongst trans people. They just need visibility is the answer there.
Do you have a URL or a hashtag or anything we're meant to know about? What is it?
Our website is notinourname.org.uk.
Notinourname.org.uk.
We would love it if all cis women could sign it.
Brilliant.
If you're not a cis woman, please share it amongst all of your friends and your family. We're here, we have QR codes, we have leaflets around the place. I would love it if you would sign it as well.
Great.
Yeah. On the stage.
Notinourname.org.uk. Get involved. Thank you very much. Any other? Tom, have we got any other questions? There's one down here.
I thought you were going to give me a big check. I'm really disappointed.
Did you have a question?
A prize!
I've won!
You don't want to.
It feels very frivolous now, if I'm honest. Did you ever get over Colin in episode 3?
He died like a dog.
Jess, he did die.
It's unbearable.
Nathan's here. Nathaniel Curtis is here from It's a Sin, sitting behind you there.
Hey.
I do a lot of work with
Gorgeous. He survived. Look, there's someone who survived.
I do a lot of work with Terence Higgins Trust, and I spend a lot of time with a lot of people who have suffered and recovered, and people who don't have pensions, because why would they? Because they weren't supposed to be fucking alive at this point. And what does aging look like with HIV? What does dementia look like with HIV? And these are all research things we're working on and projects we're working on. And yeah, it was amazing. So basics, I want to say thank you. It was incredible. And I want to watch it for a fourth time, but I just can't.
I know.
It's hard, isn't it? It's hard. And genuinely,
beautiful.
what a brilliant and brave cast they were. We were so lucky.
But don't deflect from yourself. Take the praise, because you make it happen. And it is beautiful.
Yeah. I
Thank you very
watched that in lockdown, as we probably all did. Watching that in lockdown, oh my God, because we were all kind of so lonely, and there was no, and watching it, because it starts quite very cheerfully, and that's the whole point, is it's sort of like it was a fun time. Oh my God, that broke me. I was sobbing like a child. It was, if you haven't watched It's a Sin, it's incredible. And it's really important to remember, because it's going out of memory, what it was like and how ignored the gay community were.
Yeah. Means you've got to get tested. You've all got to get tested. Yeah.
Got to get tested. Sorry, I'm just...
We are nearly... It could come and go in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The virus
No,
could go.
so
That's
just for the people
astonishing.
at home, no new cases by 2030, get tested. Tom, anyone else? One more up here.
Hello, loud and extravagant trans woman here. Mainly for Russell, but everyone. Do you think that limited series such as It's a Sin and Tiptoe are able to make more aggressively positive points and representation because they don't have to worry about being renewed like a show like Doctor Who? You can drop a 5-episode bombshell.
I don't know. I just write limited series because that's the way I think. So it's not like I have much choice. I'm not sitting there going, will this have more impact if it's 5 episodes, or will this have more impact if it runs for 5 years? Because I just like to move on. But I do think, I think I'm probably taking the easier option, and I think longer series do have more impact. I mean, just to look at a completely ridiculous example, but if you look at Upstairs, Downstairs in the 1970s, which is one of the greatest dramas ever made, which revolutionised the view of the working class within period drama. It's like before, it's possible to do, but before Upstairs, Downstairs, people didn't bother with the maids and the servants in drama, and along came Jean Marsh and Eileen Atkins, and to absolute titans, and they revolutionised. And now, to the extent that there's a shift in the Overton window, it would be impossible to do a lordly drama now without seeing what the maids are up to. Indeed, I think when they adapt things like Jane Austen, I think it's quite difficult now because you don't find out what the maids think and you don't find out what the chef thinks. And that kind of looks a little bit old-fashioned now. And so that's a show that never set out with... Well, did it set out with that intent? I don't know. But so that's a show that took 5 years to spell out its story, and I think had that come along in just 5 episodes, it wouldn't. That would be forgotten now. Who would remember a thing called Upstairs, Downstairs that went out for 5 weeks in 1979? It would be forgotten. So I suspect the longer format things do have more of an impact, like the way, actually, in terms of HIV, like the way Mark Fowler on EastEnders had a massive impact and it caused massive sympathy and understanding for those with HIV. It had its problems, but that's genuinely a brilliant story. So, and that was told over about 10 years, if not more. I think it was 14 years. So I'm afraid I'm rubbish, and I think the longer form story tells things better and knocks down walls more, but that's not what I write.
But that's also a good point, that sometimes you can do a bombshell in a shorter series that can really pack a punch. And I do think that's not. We need both.
Yes, that's the truth.
Can I ask one thing? You talked about language to me before, about how the right have co-opted language and the right have co-opted...
This is the very tricky thing that I have no answer to, but I'm setting you all a problem to engage with, which is that I think the cliche we all fell into for decades was imagining that the right was unimaginative and uncreative And actually, and yet we often find that to be true. I've got to say, it's like, where is the great right-wing dramatist? Where is that? I genuinely think on a balanced television network, there should be a family of reform voters in a drama of their own, in a version of Shameless or something. I think it's a shame.
I'm all right without that, Russell.
But no, exactly. But what are we doing? Isolating ourselves. It's like genuinely that. I know I'm not going to win this argument, but I genuinely think that should exist because all those voters looking at the BBC saying I'm not represented there at the moment. If they're right, they're not anywhere. And so that problem's just going to get more and more exacerbated. But the bigger point is that what the right did so brilliantly over the past 20 years is own the language. And everything we're talking about, it's remarkable. We've had this discussion. We haven't used the word woke once, I think, today, which is brilliant. But that is the language of debate now. Woke, snowflakes, elite. They're all right-wing inventions, and they are massively powerful.
Even the word liberal is now like...
Yes, an insult.
And lefty.
They've turned that into an insult.
That
and
means
we've tried to fight back. There was a brief flare of invention in Kamala Harris's campaign where the word weird became popular. Some of her people used the word, they'd look at J.D. Vance and go, do you think he's weird? And actually, weird as fuck, Jesus Christ. And for a few seconds I thought, oh my God, we're gaining a word. And it very quickly died because actually that's just an insult. Snowflake, elite, they're not actually insults in themselves. They're being used as insults. So we failed, and also I'm a bit weird. Weird's a great thing to be.
Yeah.
That failed, but it was a great moment of thinking, oh, we're beginning to get a vocabulary. I see no other signs of it.
I think Zach Polanski is starting to, and Mamdani, they are using very plain, they're sticking to their themes, they're being very positive, they're using very plain language. I have to say, I feel very hopeful. What I would like to know more, I almost want to do, you know those masterclasses, Russell? You know, where they say masterclass and then they have Steven Spielberg talking about directing or something. I would like to do a masterclass with you where we come and just film you somewhere that's convenient, but we ask you, how do we use, with consent, I'm not suggesting a webcam Russell doesn't know about.
Which is available on...
But we ask you about use of language and story, the things that you're doing when you make this kind of television, but how can we take those principles and use them in our conversation, because I think we need better branding, better language use, better storylines, in order to win this, because unfortunately, what the right have been amazing at, the far right have been amazing at, is invidiously creating these manosphere podcasters who use certain language, who get their hooks into young boys.
They're owning the vocabulary,
They're owning the vocabulary, they're owning the story. And we have all the artists on our side. When you look at something like Adolescence, that really changed the conversation.
Yes.
Now, how do we, A, get more of those shows, but B, use that language in our upskill in persuasion?
Yeah. There are a lot of those shows. That's the thing, everything Jimmy McGovern writes. Sally Wainwright with Rogue Women. There's a brilliant piece of work. There are a lot of those shows. The problem is that the problem is inherent within us, because to be liberal, left-wing is to be full of doubt. The right wing has such absolute certainty. That's why they keep winning, because we doubt, 57 times in this conversation, we've all gone, well, is that true, really? I don't know. Because we're reasonable, we're nice. And actually, it's a human thing to allow doubt
and that questioning and that curiosity and that self-awareness and that open-mindedness, I don't think that is just the left. I think that is that's the whole spectrum right up until that tippity end of the far right. And that is...
Yes. But in this day and age, certainty and conviction, all passion and conviction, that is winning the day.
It's fashionable, isn't it, to be so sure?
But what I see now is, I think, for the last 10 years, 12 years, we were trying to make things a bit better in feminism and thought that's what we could do. And then I started to feel like things were getting much worse and we were wasting our time, and I felt very burnt out. And then, now, I feel more positive and more hopeful than I've ever felt, because it's polarising. And I think it's either going to be a coalition between Conservatives and Reform, or Labour, not under Keir Starmer, because Zach Polanski won't work with him, but somebody more left. I think already Polanski is forcing Labour to be more left. Already Labour started saying, oh, no, we'd consider rejoining the European Union because people are leaving Labour to go to the Greens. And I think we are either going to have something disastrous or something could be the first step on something incredible where we can build the kind of world we want to live in with compassion. And I've been saying this every show, and I feel I need to say it. We might lose. If we do lose, what we will need on day one is a very, very well-connected, very well-organised, compassionate army. We will need, none of the work we do for the next 3.5 years organising will be wasted. We will need it more if we lose than if we win. We will need a network. It would not be too late on day one to go, how do we resist this? So everything we do for the next 3.5 years is absolutely valuable whether we win or lose.
I think I completely agree with that. I think that's so important because personally, and I know nothing, personally, the possibility, with Deborah's call to arms there, the possibility exists that in 3.5 years we will lose. And I think 4 years after that, 5 years after that, we face terror. Because that government will be rubbish and fall apart and be dreadful and liars and dissemblers. After that, terror, unless we start taking action now.
Yeah. But I think we can win. But we will have to leave the house. We will have to put our shoes on. We will have to, hopefully many of you can come to the day we're doing on January 17th. We're getting Neil Datter over from Belgium, who's the head of the European Parliamentary Forum for Reproductive and Sexual Rights. He knows everything about this Christian. It's sort of a full-time job for him, really, knowing about this far-right Christian nationalist uprising and how to fight it. And we will have to get organised. And some of those things we do will be super fun. They'll be great. They'll give us purpose. They'll give us new connection. We'll work with friends we haven't even met yet that will become very important people in our lives. It will be wonderful. It'll be a wonderful thing for us to do together. And I'm really looking forward to doing it. Some of the stuff was going to be hard, but I'm not really frightened of hard. I'm frightened of not trying.
Yes.
And Grace had a bit of stand-up she wanted to do tonight. That really, when she told me about it, kind of made me cry in her new show, that she said, It's a Wonderful Life. There's a part in that where someone asks, is George Bailey sick? And, because he's really, you'll know it if you don't look it up. Is George Bailey sick? And then the answer is no, worse, he's discouraged. And I feel like we've been really discouraged, and I've been really discouraged. And I feel like now more than ever we need to encourage each other. We just need to encourage each other. We need to be not looking for fault. We need to be not looking for why your idea is stupid or wrong or the word you used is wrong. We need to be encouraging each other for any effort. We need to be encouraging each other. And I'm really encouraged, Russell, that you came today to be with us. I truly believe most people in this country don't want this. If they knew about it, they wouldn't want it. They just think Farage is like a big red button you can push, we're sick of the others, they've had their chance. No, if they knew what rights they were going to give away to the ADF and to the MAGA mob, they wouldn't want it. But we have to tell them, and we have to find persuasive ways of telling them. You cannot say that they're stupid, you cannot say that they're ignorant, you have to be persuasive. And something I've said before, but, Coca-Cola do not advertise by saying, fuck you if you drink Pepsi. And we need to get more persuasive. This is why we need to watch what Russell's doing, watch adolescents, watch these shows and go, how are they persuading? And if at any point we could do a little just one-on-one, no audience necessarily, but masterclass, where you give us some of your tips for how we can put that into our conversation, into our WhatsApp groups, into how are you hooking people in? What are you doing to build empathy? What are you doing to create those characters? I would really appreciate it because I think it could be really powerful.
Thank you.
Tell us about your new Doctor Who spin-off.
That starts tomorrow night, BBC One. Hey, do you know what? I'm kind of paid to do publicity and sit there on chat shows. It's absolutely fucking brilliant. It's really, really marvellous. I love it. It's called The War Between the Land and the Sea. It's talking about, it's what happens if the sea fights back. We've ruined the oceans with oil and plastic and devastate and sound. We destroy the oceans with sound. The sound pollution underwater is ferocious. We have heat waves in the ocean now. And in Doctor Who land allows you to have a species that has been hibernating beneath the sea and wakes up and wages war on us. For example, there's a great moment in episode 2 where they simply get a glass of water from the Thames and say, drink that. It'd kill you. It would kill you. How is that the right world to be living in? It's like, so it's very political. It also has lots of monsters and chases and explosions. So that's really fun as well. But at its heart, it's got a very good message and a very big beating heart. There's a love story at the middle of it. I'm very proud of it. Thank you for letting me mention it. Please watch.
And friend of the show, Russell Tovey, is in it.
Lovely Russell Tovey.
Lovely Russell Tovey, who does the podcast Talk Art and is a brilliant, brilliant actor.
Beautiful.
So tune into that, because the more, I know this sounds odd, but the more you tune in to Russell's shows, the more he's allowed to make shows of any sort. So that one you might go, oh, I'm not sure that's for me. I'm not such a Doctor Who person. Doesn't matter. Turn it on, stream it, leave the room if necessary. That's fine. We just need ratings, because then people go, yeah, people still want to watch Russell T stuff. Yeah. Absolutely. Just stream it on various gadgets, because then he's allowed to make one. Then we can say, we need one about feminism, please. And then, so I think that's what's really important. This has been really wonderful. Is there anything you came to say that you didn't get to say?
I think I've enjoyed it. I've loved it. I've said a lot. Read Harry Tanner. That's what I want to say.
Read Harry Tanner, The Queer Thing About Sin. It's really, really interesting, and it really opened my eyes to how capitalism strikes again.
Again and again.
Yeah. Fucking hell, man. Like, I don't know if we're ever going to get past it, but I think these things are waves.
But we have to live within it. That's the point.
We're in a wave at the moment, and the wave's not going our way, so we've got to redirect the wave. I believe we can redirect the wave. Sign up to guiltyfeminist.com mailing list. You will be first to hear about the shows. Will you come out to more Road to Gilead shows? And we'll be doing some more regular Guilty Feminist shows too. Please come out, please join the community. Same thing, subscribe to the podcast. You don't have to listen to it, just turn it on. Jess?
I'm going on tour in February.
Yay.
With my show, Iconic Breath. And I think it's sort of take about. I'm trying to cope with the world as is right now. So it's eyes wide open show. But there is also, I've billed it as the silliest of shows for the darkest
It's
plays.
a very beautiful show.
So it's a lighter
funny,
touch
it's
than
beautiful.
previous shows. I wanted it to just bounce along, but also look at what the fuck is going on as well. I too, by the way, feel hopeful, but it could just be my HRT kicking in.
Thank you so much. And can I do a big shout out to Georgia Tennant, who put us in touch with Russell and has helped with all of these shows.
Great, thank you.
It's been an amazing first series of Road to Gilead under the Guilty Feminist banner. Gina Dicio is also here, who's done loads. Tom Selinsky's also here, who's done loads. Am I leaving anyone out? Zainab Mohammed, who does our socials. There's been so many people that have helped put these together, and it's all been done a bit on a shoestring. So I really thank you so much for coming out. Please come out to more. Please join us, because we cannot let the King's Army win. Not the fucking Humpty Dumpty mob. Like, come on. We are better, we are stronger, we are more positive, we are more powerful. We can do this, but we've got to join in and come to that big march against the far right. We're going to have a Road to Gilead section, a Guilty Feminist Road to Gilead section there. You can come and march with us. Get involved, guiltyfeminist.com, sign up to the mailing list. Love you all. Thank you so much for coming. I've got to just say a last final thing. You have been listening to The Guilty Feminist with me, Deborah Frances-White, guest co-host Jessica Fostekew, and our very special guest, Russell T Davies. The Guilty Feminist theme tune was composed by Mark Hodge. The producer was Tom Selinsky for the Spontaneity Shop. Thanks to Zainab Mohammed, Gina Dicio, Georgia Tennant, Ned Sedgwick, and everyone at Soho Theatre, as well as all of you for listening. More information about this and other episodes was at guiltyfeminist.com.